Okay, in this video, what we're going to do is take a quick look at the Hypershade. So let's come over here to Window, Rendering Editor. So this one's kind of tucked away, and then down to Hypershade. Hypershade's going to play a very important role in your scene constructions, especially when you get into colorizing your objects.
Sure, adding textures and different materials. And as such, we have a lesson later on into our projects where you're going to get a lot more intimate with this part of the UI.
A whole lot more. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. First of all, it's divided up into several key areas. Across the top, we get a menu bar. We almost always get a menu bar.
Yeah.
Moving down from there, we get a toolbar. So there's our toolbar. Moving down from there, it's divided up into left and a split on the right. Okay, so this is three different areas right here. This is our create bar over here. What I'm going to do is come down here, and we have these two buttons with left and right arrows, just like we have over here on our channel box. I'm going to go ahead and open this up just a little bit. There we go.
That's nice.
That looks much better. Now, what do we have? This is known as the create bar. And from the create bar, this is where we can create all sorts of different things. We can create materials, we can create 2D textures, 3D textures, utilities, you name it, we can create it from over here. And a quick way to gain access to Maya nodes or mental ray nodes for creation, we can do that here. We can also visualize all of the nodes that can be created from here by selecting all nodes.
Sure.
Okay, now what I want to do is talk about this area. In this area, the top is going to show us everything that we've created so far. So let's go ahead and use the same navigation keys that we use on our viewport. I'm going to hold Alt and just simply right-click to zoom out a little bit, and then pan that up. This is all of the nodes that are available for you to see inside the Hypershade when you have a brand new scene and nothing else created.
This upper area is known as the tabs area.
That's right. So right here we've got Lambert 1, we've got Shader Glow 1, and we've got Particle Cloud 1.
So these are some default materials that we're going to have every time we open a new scene.
That's right. Now, that's materials. Everything is organized, as Zach just said, through the tabs up here. So we can view textures, we can view utility nodes, lights, cameras. Now, we do have something in the camera section. Let's go ahead and maximize this. It'll be a little bit easier to see. Look at this. We got a front, perspective, side, and top.
Nice.
Because we have those 4 cameras.
Right, so they're actual objects in the scene.
They are. Now, shading groups. Well, right now we've got 2 shading groups. Initial particle shading group, and we have our initial shading group itself. One's for geometry, one's for dealing with default particles. Okay, moving on over. Bake sets, and finally we get into our projects. So, let's go ahead and move back out. So now let's go ahead and focus down here. In this area, we get into what is known as the work area. And the work area is where we basically start constructing networks. Like if I wanted to middle click and drag a blend out here, look at that. Ooh, a new thing just appeared up here.
Ooh.
Now I want to come down and maybe put a checkered over here on this guy. So I'm just going to drag on him with the middle mouse button and select color.
And don't worry about exactly what he's doing to knock this out. We're going to be covering all of this in depth much later.
Oh, yeah. Now I want to drag, I don't know, a ramp over here onto my checker and hook it up to color 1. Ooh. It's getting all scary looking. So now I want to grab this guy and look at the dependency graph for this one particular object. So I'm going to come up here to my toolbar, and you see these 2 arrows right here.
Oh, that looks familiar.
And output connections. Click. And that's the network that I've constructed so far. You can see that some of the nodes were created automatically for me. Okay?
We didn't see those a second ago.
We didn't see those a second ago. No, that's why I said go ahead and show me the DG. And what's really interesting is I don't have to visualize only material networks or shading networks inside the work area here. I can do anything. Like if I was to come back over here and say create a NURB sphere like such, with the NURB sphere selected, I can come up here and say, now show me my input and output connections. Blunk.
Ooh.
Look at this. There's my transform node, input node, shape node, initial shading group node. And I can do just like I did in the last lesson. I can grab my initial shading group node, I can grab my NURB sphere, and I can say, show me my DG or input and output connections for that. And look at this. I get the same thing I had earlier. In fact, I can lay it out the same way by dragging my Lambert down here, grabbing this guy right here, this guy, moving them up like such, and putting my transform node, I don't know, somewhere right up there. And there you go.
Very cool.
Now, how do I get back to the other one? Well, let's see if I can freak everybody out. Bringing our attention back up here to the toolbar, one of the things I like to do a lot is use the eraser. Click, clear the graph.
Nice.
That does not delete your nodes.
No.
It simply erases the board.
You know, on that note, don't try to clear out the graph by hitting the backspace or delete key. That's
that
bad.
Will delete the object.
Yeah.
That's real bad. All I need to do now is simply come back over here, select my blend node, come up here and tell it to show my input and output connections, and there's right where I left off, just a minute
Right.
ago. That's so simple.
And when
okay?
you're using the hypergraph, like if you're focused mainly on the tab area, you can use these keys up here at the top to focus in on whichever part you need to see. For example, this button here on the end shows the tab area only. The middle button only shows the work area, and then of course you have the split button that shows them both.
That's right. And to be honest with you, most of the time you will find me working this particular way right here just because I get a larger area
Right.
to work with.
And quite often, especially I know in Buzz and I's case, we end up using the Hypershade for a lot more than just materials.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, there's going to be some lessons dedicated to this coming up in the near future that's going to show you guys how we can start getting into the use of some of these utility nodes down here to do some really cool things.
Absolutely.
So this is just a real quick look at the Hypershade. I guess we could wrap it up with a little bit of realistic functionality by doing the following. What I'm going to do is just move my sphere over here, put it into a shaded view, and now I'm going to middle click and drag my material over onto my sphere. And there it is. Ooh, isn't that super cool? Do make one note. 4 is going to give us wireframe. 5 gives us shaded. You must hit 6 to turn on hardware texture shading so that you can see the textures involved.
Very cool.
It's that simple. Hypershade, ladies and gentlemen, it's very important. We're going to be digging deep into this guy. That's about it.
Very cool.
So with that, that's going to wrap up this lesson. Thanks a lot.